Did you miss me? I had planned on recording this lesson last week, but someone brought to my attention that the author of the textbook I use might not appreciate me using it to make lessons. So I reached out to him and he did respond, and he is a-okay with me using his book as long as I continue to not use direct examples. So, shout out to George Trombley. He is so super duper nice. If you haven't already, please check out Japanese from Zero and give him a follow or a subscription or whatever it's called. And if you haven't already, please do consider buying his books. I recently bought his special edition books. Look how pretty it is. I don't think he's still selling these. I'm pretty sure these were super exclusive. He only had them for like a week or two. Maybe he will bring them back. I don't know. But I bought them. Aren't they pretty? Look how pretty it is. But even if you can't get your hands on these lovely pretty versions of them, the originals are still just as good. The content inside is the same. The only thing different is the cover, and the paper is really thick, which is kind of nice, but not necessary. You can get away with the regular ones. They're just as good. I have those also. I bought these because they are pretty to look at. I can put them on my shelf in my office and it just looks really nice. And I am happy to support George in any way that I can because I want him to make more books. But just as a reminder, they are very affordable, just about $30, and they double as a workbook. That is honestly the best feature. You can write directly in these books. They are great to follow along with the lessons because there's only so much that you can get through listening. You need output. Input is not enough. You have to have output. And this will give you output. Look at that. Look at all the questions. It's wonderful. It's so worth it. So if you haven't, please do support him. Please do buy his books. If you absolutely just cannot afford to buy a textbook right now, go give him a follow on his YouTube. He does also have a TikTok if you want some shorter lessons, and he frequently does lives. He also runs a very helpful Discord channel, which is great if you want a sense of community where you can ask other learners questions or get advice on certain things. I don't really understand how Discord works. It's not really my thing. I joined Discord solely so that I could join his group, and it's a little overwhelming for me. So I will not be making my own Discord. I'm not going to do it. If you have questions, if you want to have that sense of community, if you want to meet other language learners, I'm going to refer all of my viewers to his Discord channel. Because again, I'm not trying to compete with him at all. If anything, I would consider myself support. I am primarily making these videos because some of my students have asked me to. They are familiar with me, they're comfortable with me, and they like my style of teaching, and I wanted to showcase George's book and help spread the word a little bit and kind of show the teachability of this textbook. I would love to see his book available in colleges because the college that I went to, the only book they had was Genki, and Genki is not a bad book. It's not, but I really do think as far as self-study is concerned, George's book is better in a lot of ways. There are good things about Genki, don't get me wrong, and you definitely should have multiple sources, but I do wish that my college offered different textbooks. I wish that I had something to choose from and not just that one book. So I really just wanted to showcase what his book is capable of using my own style with, the cutesy animations and colorful things and, whatnot. I think I've rambled a little bit too much now, so let's go ahead and get started. First up, we have some new phrases. The first one is super common. You are going to hear this all the time in animes, in J-dramas. If you visit Japan and you go into a store or a restaurant, you're always going to hear this phrase, いらっしゃいませ, いらっしゃいませ. And it means welcome. Welcome to the store. It's just a very polite greeting. You do not say it back. The person who works at the store or the restaurant, they will say it to you. You don't say it back. Just an FYI. Now, then the second one we have, shou is just a minute. Then omachi is wait. And kudasai means please. So please wait just a minute. There are other ways that you can say this. For example, chotto matte kudasai also means please wait just a minute, but this one's very polite and you can never go wrong with being polite. Then the last phrase that we have is dozo, which basically just means go ahead or here you go, something along those lines. We don't really have a direct equivalent to this. Considering this is just one word, we have to use a whole phrase in order to get a similar meaning in English, but it's something that you say when you give someone something, like go ahead or help yourself or here you go, take it, things like that. Now, we do have a new particle today. This one is mo, which means to or also. Now, in most sentences, it's going to come after the word that it is referring to. Sometimes it will apply to the subject or the topic of the sentence. If that happens, it's going to replace the particle wa or ga instead. So I actually have two examples here, and they are used just a little bit different. Let's look at the first one. Ichigo ga suki desu. I like strawberries. Suika mo suki desu. I also like watermelon. So in this example, the mo is replacing ga. Also watermelon. I like it. The second one is a little bit different. Ringo mo, momo mo, kudamono desu. I did this on purpose because look, we have mo, momo, mo. We have 4 mo's in a row. And this is one reason why kanji is very important. I love the idea of kanji. I hate learning kanji because it's difficult. It is difficult, but it's a good thing. Like kanji is a good thing. It is so hard to read a Japanese sentence that doesn't have kanji. So this is an example of that. I've got 4 mo's in a row and I put spaces. I was nice to you guys. I have put spaces between them, but if you look at a Japanese text, it doesn't have spaces most of the time. Unless it's a children's book, usually doesn't have any spaces. So, yeah. Now, I want you to take a minute. Just think about each of the words and what you've learned about particles. What do you think this sentence means? Ringo mo, momo mo, kudamono desu. Now, if I were to translate this, I would translate it as apples and peaches are fruit. That is how I would translate it, right? Because we want it to make sense in English. But in my head, when I translate it, when I read this sentence, I read it literally. I read it as apples also, peaches also, they are fruit. Remember what I said in the last video. It will save you time to just get in the habit of reading it literally. Read it like a Japanese person reads it. Don't try to translate it in your head. Don't try to reorganize the words in your head. It takes too long. Read it literally. I know it sounds weird. We would never say that in English. We would never say apples also and peaches also, they are fruit. We wouldn't say that. We'd say Apples and peaches are fruit. But the particle and is not in here. It's not in here. It's mo, which means also. So translate it literally in your head. It's faster. And it will help you remember the grammar rules so that you don't make mistakes when you try making your own sentences. So once again, if you're translating it, you want it to translate nicely, you want it to make sense in English or whatever the language is that you're translating to, but in your head, no one can hear it but you. So just translate it literally. Apples also, peaches also, they are fruit. That's what this means. Apples and peaches are fruit. They are both fruit. Now, let's talk about the differences between these two different ways to say please. We have kudasai and onegai shimasu. Let's start with kudasai. A lot of language apps, when they first introduce kudasai, they will put in parentheses, give me, please give me. When I was learning Japanese, I really clung to that, and I thought that you could only use kudasai if you were asking for something, like please give me cake, please give me ice cream, please give me water, please give me a hug, I don't know, something like that, right? I really hung on to that. So because of these language apps, and all of them do it, like Duolingo does it, Lingodeer does it, pretty much every language app I have ever used, Memrise does it, they all teach this as please, and then in parentheses, give me, please give me. That is how kudasai is taught. Because of that, for the longest time, I thought that onegai shimasu was the generic way to say please. You could use it for everything, and that kudasai was specifically if you were asking for something. But that is not the case. Do not fall in that trap. Now, don't get me wrong. It does mean please give me something. But kudasai can be used for other things. Basically, it is used if you are requesting an action, not only giving, but any action. If you are asking for someone to do something, like wait, please wait, you're going to use kudasai. So if you're requesting an action, you're requesting a verb, then you're going to use kudasai. Another thing about kudasai is that it cannot stand alone. It must always be in a sentence. It can't be all by itself. You can't just use kudasai to mean please. You just can't do it. If you feel like you want to say please by itself, you're going to use onegai shimasu instead. And of course, onegai shimasu can also be used in a sentence, but it can stand alone, unlike kudasai, which cannot. Now, in general, onegai shimasu sounds more polite. If you are requesting a service from somebody, like if you're calling for a taxi, then you're going to use onegai shimasu instead. Okay, so you have learned all of the hiragana. So this time we're going to do something a little different. I have 4 pages, I think. Not 100% sure, maybe it's 3. Pretty sure it's 4. We'll find out in just a second. I have several pages here of dialogue, some little sample conversations that you guys are going to try to read on your own and see if you can translate them. Now, on this first page, we're going to do this one together because it has a little bit of grammar that you've not learned yet. So first, let's look at the pink one. 今、何をしていますか? 今、now. 何を? What is nani? Nani? You hear that a lot in anime. What is it? What? And then this is the part that you don't know. しています. しています. This is the te form of suru or shimasu, and it basically adds an ing. We will learn the te form later. I don't want you to worry about it too much. If I had left it as nani o shimasu ka, that, like, the grammar is fine. You can say that, and it means what do you do? But like, That's a weird question. we don't ask that question unless you got like a new job or something, or maybe you started a new class at school, you have like a lab. Your friends might say, oh, well, what do you do in the lab? Like, what do you do there? What do you do at work? Other than that, I can't think of too many other instances where you would need to use that question. So instead, like, I tried to think of a way to make it work because I didn't want to include grammar you hadn't learned yet, but there was just no way around it. This has to have ing. So all this did, changing it to the te form, just made it present continuous. So it's what are you doing right now? What are you doing now? Then the second one, 私はそうたくんとあかりちゃんと遊んでいます。Let's go through piece by piece. 私は I, そうたくんとあかりちゃん. Sota being a young boy and Akari being a young girl. And then this second to here has a different meaning. The first one is and. The second one is with. Then we have asondemasu. This is also the te form. It's the te form of asobu. Asobu meaning to play. So asondemasu makes it ing. I am playing with Sota-kun and Akari-chan. Now, the rest of it you can read on your own. So pause if you need to, take a minute, try to read it and see if you can translate it on your own. Are you ready? あなたの兄弟ですか? いいえ、Sota-kunもAkari-chanもいいです。So, あなたの兄弟. あなたの is your. 兄弟 means sibling. So, are they your siblings? Are Soto-kun and Akari-chan your siblings? いいえ. No. Soto-kun. Also. Akari-chan. Also. They are dogs. いいです. They are dogs. I am playing with my two dogs. That's what this means. So this is one of the ways that you can use mo. Let's try another one. The rest of them you can read on your own. You don't need my help for. So what do you think? Pause if you need to. Just think about each word piece by piece. Are you ready? どの車がいいですか? Which car, that's our subject, which car is good? Which car is good? 赤い車がいいですよ。黄色い車もいいです。The red car is good. The yellow car is also good. 赤い車も黄色い車もとっても高いです。The red car, also, the yellow car, also, are very expensive. The red car and the yellow car are both very expensive. Okay, let's try another one. This one's pretty simple. Pause if you need to. Ready? 鉛筆をください。はい、どうぞ。すみません。紙もお願いします。So, 鉛筆 is pencil. We have o here as the direct object marker. So, please give me a pencil. And the person responds with, yes, here you are. But then they say, すみません. Excuse me. 紙もお願いします. Paper also. Now, you could use kudasai here, but because they've already asked for something and then they forgot that they also need something else, they have to bother the person a second time. They're trying to be more polite, so they use onegai shimasu, which is just a little bit more formal. But they could have used kudasai here. It would have been fine. But paper also. Can I have some? Okay, one more. Pause if you need to. What does this mean? Ready? すみません。ここは何が美味しいですか? Excuse me. Here, what is delicious? 今日はラーメンが美味しいです。でも、うどんもいいです。Today, the ramen is delicious. But the udon is also good. じゃあ、ラーメンと水をください。Well then, ramen and water. Please give me a water and some ramen. Okay, and here is your homework. Take a minute, take a picture, and study it. In the next lesson, we are going to start learning about counters. So, that is it for today. I will see you guys next time. Bye.